Okay, hi ladies. It's good to see you again in less than a few minutes. So, as promised, I wanted to show you what's possible for you when you say yes to you. And it's all well and good me telling you what's possible to create and walking you through how to do all of this. But it's different when you can see somebody that's actually doing it themselves and is genuinely seeing results. So, I want to introduce you to Janine. Janine.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, as Joanne said, my name is Jean Robinson. And I came on board with Joanne in, I say February. I think it
Yeah.
was January or February this year. And it was from LinkedIn now that I actually had saw your advertisement for like what your life purpose is. And I was drawn to it and just intrigued. And just to give a little back history, like I knew Joanne, I used to work with Joanne actually in an old company of ours, but we didn't work very closely together. I didn't know you personally, but I was more just intrigued as what's Joanne doing? Like, what's this coaching all about? And I'm all about like life purpose, what's our goal, why are we here on earth, quite spiritual, holistic. And to be honest, I was drawn in by the first evening because I saw a completely different Joanne. And
Mm.
I was like, oh my God, you're so genuine and you're so real. And I've said this since day one. I'm quite the perfectionist. And the hashtag be messy. I was like, oh my God, that resonates so well with me that I was like, I'm always striving to be perfect. So when I've studied psychology and counseling and psychotherapy, and I never took on clients because I kept feeling like, oh, I need to offer them more. So I need to study more and learn more. Um, and I was like, I'm never going to be perfect. I
Mm.
should be learning all the time actually for my clients. So that's actually should be the case. Um, and within that week, those 5 days of that workshop, um, you obviously set us like kind of deadline goals, really got into the nitty gritty of like what your fears are, what your desires are. And like one of our tasks was, okay, what have you been putting off? And I was like, I know I'm putting off actually like setting up my profile on Psychology Today. And within 5 days, I had done it. I had done my little 15-second intro video, had done like my write up on myself. And then I was open. Then I was just open to receiving the people who needed me. And all of a sudden, within a week, I was, officially a psychologist, and clients were able to then obviously connect with me.
Mm-hmm. You've
So
clients consistently now, right?
yes, I do, which is just odd. Like, because I like you open up obviously the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, no, people were contacting me like through friends and family, and I was just saying no. So when it's an official site, I suppose then you're like, okay, I'm official, this is happening. And people were looking for my help, and you're like, well, that's the whole point of me obviously wanting to be there for people, to support people. So the minute you start saying yes, obviously you're going to have more yeses, more inquiries. And yeah, now I have a therapy room and I have regular clients who, I adore, and I'm there to obviously guide them and support them, which is great. And while continue to learn. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm like, why did I not think of that before? That's the part that I'm like, of course you're gonna have to continue to learn throughout your career. But yeah,
You don't know what you don't know, though, do you know? And like,
no,
I think this is what I know we've talked about a good few times, but like around the whole fear piece, because even when you say yes to you, like fear then still kicks in anyway, because you're like, oh, okay, I've said yes now. Okay, it's happening. Oh crap, now what? Now what am I
yeah.
gonna do? Right? It just all kicks in, you get into that cycle again.
And it's only ideas.
Mm.
Like when you know in your gut, like this is something I'm constantly thinking about, this is something I would really like to do, and then you start to do it. I have felt anyway, like once I'm with my clients, I don't like it's I just zone out. It just happens. It just automatically happens. So then you're like, I was supposed to be doing this all along. So the fear is not in the moment. It's never like with your clients or with your customers, whatever your business is, because that's what you enjoy doing. It's always you by yourself.
Mm.
And then you're like, oh, I stepped away from it. And then you're like, okay, now fear. So it's my own personal fear. It's nothing associated with my life purpose or whatever my goals are, or what my dreams are. It's just me and myself. Me, myself, and I.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? I always say it's like an onion, right? You peel back one layer and you're like, it's okay, I'm good now, I've got it.
Yeah.
And then, oh crap, something else happens and you're like, oh, here I go again.
But that's where I think I'm even at now, because I got over the hurdle of put myself out there, and even just that imposter syndrome of going around and like introducing myself and explaining that I've clients. Now it's just part of my lingo because I'm like, oh
Mm.
no, sorry, I'm busy actually. I've clients, no, I can't, sorry, I have a booking or whatever, or a client is booked in, because it just comes part of your like day by day, week by week. And now I'm at the point that I'm like, okay, now I need to level up because there's other ideas I have and there's other things that I want to do. And now I'm back into what feels like another onion layer, that I'm like back into fear. I'm back into now like, okay, what are the next steps? What are the ideas? Like I have a retreat that I'm organizing and planning, and I'm like, what am I doing? But yet I'm excited about it. So yeah. So it's constant learning.
Yeah, I love this. And I love that you're sharing this because this is literally what we've talked about over
Yeah.
the last 3 days. So I want everybody to hear what Janine is saying is that like, so this is where you take people from being a cold lead into a hot lead. So like Janine, while we knew each other, we hadn't been in contact in what, 3 years?
Oh yeah, I would say 3 years, or it's 2 to 3 years anyway. Yeah. And I said, and we didn't work particularly close together.
No, your boss
And
was worked directly with me. Yeah.
yeah. So, and even your persona, and I think that's, we've talked a lot about um your own personal beliefs are so important, and that your own identity, and that you really know yourself and you're being authentic. And one of the things I was saying, like that I had an issue with, was being vulnerable,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, as a therapist, I shouldn't be vulnerable. And I'm like, oh my God, but I'm expecting my clients to be vulnerable. So no, I need to be. But it was your persona within, like, this corporate world, like, from the outside in, I was like, oh my God, Joanne is all business and all go, 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 and task, task, task. And I wasn't drawn to that, that's not the type of people I'm drawn to, until we were at your workshop, and I was like, oh my God, you're like full of love and support, and the real, that I really appreciate when people are being real and honest. That's like, I don't have it all together, I don't know it all, and things are messy and they're not perfect, and you don't have to have this big business proposal and all of these plans. It's a little bit more step by step, feeling the fear and giving it a go anyway, absolutely. But yeah, and just sitting with it and seeing what happens.
Mm.
And then things do happen.
Yes, I do.
Great. And then you're like, oh my God, it's happened. And then you're like, okay, more things are coming my way. Which, yeah.
Oh, I love that you talked about vulnerability because that was a big piece over this, entire 3 days around things being perfect and needing things to look right and to look good and um actually really digging into who we are and the way that we get to be because we talked yesterday about, I went through what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And it's the what doesn't work is actually what I share quite a lot because like you said, that's what people resonate with. That's how they get to know you and that's where the vulnerability comes in
Yeah.
for that. So I love that you touched on that. Question for you. How
Mhm.
did you say yes to you? Because saying yes to invest in yourself, for some people it's relatively easy, but only if you're used to doing it. If you're not
Yeah.
used to doing it, it is like so scary, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. How did you get to that point where were saying yes to you?
I think there's two sides to this. First of all, I kept saying I wanted to provide a service for other people.
Mm.
So I was thinking of the others, that I'm like, okay, you want to help, so therefore you need to be available for people. I was doing it anyway within my life, and there was a lot of people that came my way, and I just wasn't charging them. But I was like exhausted from the energy of helping. And then there was no consistency for those people because I couldn't help on a regular basis without there being some kind of service. And then the second thing was, I was tired of listening to myself saying, or that voice in your head that you're like, I'd love to do that, or I must try that. Or, those conversations you ever talked to someone like in the past, or maybe someone you went to school with, or someone you worked with, and you're like, what do you do? And
Yeah.
you ever have that little bit that you're like, oh, I'm sick of telling them what I'm doing because it's not something I'm particularly interested or proud in? That you're like, yeah, so yeah, I work in, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's fantastic. And really you're like, I want to one day, yeah, I want to one day introduce myself as a therapist. I'm like, that's what I want to do. So yeah, I think there was my own just personal fed up of that voice, and that, or, oh, I will one day do this course and get involved in that. And then the other side was like, if you want to help people, then you need to be open for them to come your way. And yeah, and that's where you get obviously joy from, or that's where I certainly get joy from.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You say
And
it
it's
was
where I get that
motivating.
buzz.
Yeah.
It is, it's where I get a buzz. Like there's other work that I do with teenagers and stuff, and I walk into the room, and I'm sure people can understand what I'm talking about. You know, when you forget what you just said, you do a presentation or you do some talk, and someone you come off stage or whatever, and someone says to you like, "Oh my God, you did a great job." I'm like, I don't remember what I said I did. It's like someone takes over. And it's where I come alive and where the adrenaline comes. And it's same like that, obviously, then when I get to have some one-on-one or group sessions with people, and you get them saying, "Oh, I'm actually like, it's working for me," and you know, and my life is changing. So yeah, it's powerful.
Last question.
Yes.
My favorite one to ask, and most people hate answering it.
Thank
Obviously, money is one of the biggest reasons that people give for not wanting to invest in themselves. What was your first thoughts when I told you how much it was, and then again, how did you get over that?
Um, so I knew I had to make money.
Mm.
I was like, this is a service, okay? And I mean, I've paid for therapy, and I tell everybody like therapy is fantastic, and I wouldn't even question that you would have to pay for it. It's someone's expertise and all of the stuff. So I knew that I was like, I will be charging people. And you had said to me, and hopefully I have this right, it's not about like either or, it's like and. So all I kept thinking was, well, if I now open myself up to clients, clients are going to pay me, and then I'm going to reinvest that back in myself. So I kept just thinking of this 360. So I was like, that is worth the investment, because really the money is going to other people. You know, that way I was like, I invest in me and it goes back out. And that was to me the easiest way to kind of sign off on it. And to be honest, it was a bit of a like a deadline goal then, because I was like, you know, that means I need to make, you know, a few €100 every month then. That's my goal then, to cover any bills. If I feel it's too expensive, make that money and then, you know, cover your costs with Joanne. So yeah, that's how I did it. And I mean, if you ever want to start making money, you do have to spend money. Like we spend enough when it comes to, you know, some surface stuff, materials, holidays. I mean, if you want to have a nice time and have a like retreat or have a relaxing time, we spend money. Like say it is just that, it is a service. Now, I found money triggering now. Even I still do now with my clients. So I for me, sometimes it's nearly negotiating with yourself and saying like this, it's not about I'm taking, I'm going to give. So if I tell myself I'm giving back or giving back, well, then it's just, yeah, circle of life.
Yeah, and ladies, hear what Janine is saying there. Remember, we were talking about over the last 3 days about how it's not about us; it's about the person that you're supporting on the other end. That's literally how she's doing it. So she's living it and breathing it and making it happen. Any final words that you want to share with the group?
No, but just the very best of luck, really, to everybody. I'm so excited if there's any newbies that we get to meet or talk to or want to reach out. It's so important, yeah, to feel as if you're part of something, and that it is all a bit new and scary. But what you said to me, fear and excitement are the same feelings. And it's so true.
Yeah,
So true.
yeah.
Yeah,
Depends on what way you choose to look at it.
exactly. That's it.
Oh, well, thank you, my lovely. I'm so glad that you were able to join us and
Yeah.
to share, because I think your story will resonate with so many women that are in there. Because we've got a lovely group of between coaches,
Okay.
nutrition, like health, all of those fun
Okay.
things. So
All our lovely holistic ladies. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, there's some really, really beautiful, beautiful entities in there and what's been created. So thank you for sharing. I love that you've been here, and congratulations.
No, thank you. Best of luck, everybody. Thanks, Joanne.